Welcome to the Golden State Media Concepts, America's Still Beautiful podcast, a weekly news podcast covering all the top positive and uplifting news stories. Are you tired of the same old news? Are you sick of the seemingly endless political spin and negativity? We cover stories that will inspire, uplift, and remind you of the good in the world. Tune into the Golden State Media Concepts, America's Still Beautiful podcast to get all the great and positive news stories of today.
Welcome to the show, ladies and gentlemen. You are listening to the GSMC America Still Beautiful podcast, brought to you by the GSMC Podcast Network. I'm your host, Brooklyn Tanner. Thank you so much, as always, for joining us today. We are here to bring you the most fabulous, the good news in our country. There still is a lot of it, so we're glad you tuned in today to listen. So how are you doing today? Check in with yourself. Think, okay, how am I doing? What am I thinking about? How am I feeling? And how do you want to feel? I hope you want to feel good, because that is what this podcast is going to do for you today. I feel great, and I'm so excited to jump into our stories. How is the weather where you are? Out here in the West, it sure is hot. We are mid-July and really seeing the temperatures rise. Upper 90s today most of the day. So it's a hot summer, and of course that's fun because maybe you're spending a little bit more time outside in your backyard, still shows social distancing, but getting some sun. That's always a nice change of pace. And hey, the hotter it gets, the better it is when fall comes around, right? Right. Well, thanks again for joining us. Let's get into our stories for today. We have, believe it or not, some really good news about COVID-19. So, we've been fighting it as a country for most of the year now, but there really is a lot of good news rolling in. Maybe you've heard some bad news today, but this is the good news. So, some amazing researchers have developed an air filter that stops COVID-19 in its tracks and then immediately kills it. What? Yes, that's right. In Texas, researchers from the University of Houston have succeeded in collaboration to develop a catch-and-kill air filter that traps COVID-19 and instantly kills it in the process. It sounds like a miracle, right? Well, they've been working on it rapidly, so hard, around the clock, since March 31st. As they realized that the situation was really getting intense, two amazing researchers, Zai-Feng Ren and Monzer Hoonrani, got together and were like, okay, let's put our heads together. Let's make something that's really going to help. And a version is already available. And it really works. It's absolutely amazing. So here's a little bit of how the thing works. The researchers reported that the tests at the laboratory the amazing researchers reported that the test at the laboratory yielded a 99.8% accuracy of killing the virus as it goes through this filter. It's really amazing. It's made from nickel foam that's been heated to 200 degrees centigrade. That's about 200 degrees centigrade, which is 392 degrees Fahrenheit. Woo, that's hot. So it kills the virus right as it comes through it, because the virus can't survive at a very high heat, and the nickel helps to trap those spores, and so the virus can't thrive beyond it. So bam, bam, it gets it with 2 in 1 just right there. So Ren, one of the researchers and the co-author of the paper reporting about this device, says, this filter could be useful in airports and in airplanes, in office buildings, schools, and cruise ships to stop the spread of COVID-19. Its ability to help control the spread of the virus could be very useful for society. You think? Yeah, that is pretty exciting. The filter, which is described in this paper published by the two researchers, describes how it works and how it has done in testing trials in laboratories. Now, the two researchers first approached each other with the concept of developing a trapping air filter that would get the virus so that they could help within the pandemic. And this started again on March 31st, just as the pandemic was really spreading here in the United States. But since they knew it could remain in the air for about 3 hours, the filter seemed like the most viable plan rather than any other type of device, because that would allow for businesses to reopen and control the spread of the virus through the air. Because as you know, that's where it spreads the most. That's why we got our masks on. The air apparently is the vehicle here for this virus. So they also figured out that the virus could not survive above the temperatures of 70 degrees centigrade or 150 degrees Fahrenheit. So the researchers decided to use the heated filter. Now, it didn't just come together super easily, because while they wanted to use the nickel foam, the nickel foam is porous and it was allowing the air to flow through it, but without letting the virus through. It had to be able to be a strong resistor so it could conduct heat. However, nickel foam kind of is low in the resistor category. So what they decided to do is fold the foam up into multiple layers so that the heat could come in through electricity. Electrically, yep. That's right, it's electric. So the nickel foam is heated by electricity rather than some outside source. So that makes the filter heated within itself, and so as air flows through, the spores of the coronavirus are caught in it, burned up, and just killed instantly. Boom, no chance. So it's amazing. And I'm so excited that this kind of good news has come in. And as the filters continue to get developed, they will be able to help in spaces where they are needed the most. So here's what they're saying about where they're going to send those filters first. So it says, this novel biodefense indoor air protection technology offers the first in-line prevention against environmentally mediated transmission of airborne COVID-19 and will be on the forefront of technologies available to combat the current pandemic and any future airborne biothreats in indoor environments. So that's what they're saying about how incredible this tool is and how exciting it is that we have something like this. So of course it can be used in schools, hospitals, healthcare facilities, and on public transit. And they're saying we're going to go right into the hospitals first. Of course, those amazing doctors, nurses, medical assistants, staffs at the hospitals and doctors' offices, those are the people really on the front lines of this virus, trying to care for the people that are experiencing difficulty while suffering with coronavirus. So they're going right in with the filters as soon as they can, right after all the trials are done, so it can really start helping. So Dr. Anthony Fauci, the director of the National Institute of Allergy and Infectious Diseases, maybe you've heard his name over the past couple months a little bit, he says, we are optimistic that we're going to be able to get the trials enrolled in an expeditious way. I think we can do what we need to do. So he's really heading up the information and the studying going on in our country about the COVID-19 pandemic. And so he says, hey, this really has some good potential and we're going to get on it. We are going to expedite it through so we can really get it to start helping people. So it's a pretty exciting thing. And did you think I was done? No. The vaccine for coronavirus is also coming as soon as it possibly can. So this is another article that was published in USA Today, and it describes how an encouraging number of people have signed up to test the coronavirus vaccine. So a few different companies in the United States, medical companies, are working, obviously, as fast as they possibly can to develop a vaccination that would help people be immunized against coronavirus so that we can slow the spread and eventually make it so that it's a lot less people that get it. Even though it might be a lingering issue for many years, it can be more like the flu or MMR, other things that we have conquered in the past. We can help people have a vaccine so schools, workplaces, public events, arts, all those things can be more safe again with this type of vaccine. So of course, they are working around the clock to develop one, and although it's still in its early phases, as of last week, more than 107,000 people have signed up to take part in testing. And that can be a huge roadblock for medical advances, is getting enough people to sign up to test for the trials as it goes through. So when a vaccine is created, you can't just invent it and then boom, everything is cured. It requires a lot of volunteers and a lot of phases to go through so that the vaccine can be considered safe and applicable to the majority of a society. So in phase 1 trials, the goal is to determine any immediate adverse effects. This is what happens in the lab. This is done through tests in a small number of healthy people, generally fewer than 100. So for example, the phase 1 of the trial of Moderna vaccine candidate is when 45 people took part. There were generally positive results from that vaccine test, and when that small group was able to take the vaccine, that is a very precarious part where you got to make sure that there's no super bad adverse effects that could pop up at first. And this is just the phase 1 of human trials. So way before you even get to human trials, they develop, they study, they test, and they do their very best to create a vaccine that will not be harmful to humans, obviously. But they do many, many lab tests before they even get to these phases for human testing. So that small group, less than 100, that's phase 1. And then in phase 2 trials, they expand the safety testing and look at dosing. How high of a dose can be given before there are adverse effects. Typically, several dose levels are tested. And in addition, these trials look to see if the vaccine causes an immune response in the subject. They can end up including several hundred people and expand to include older subjects. Then the phase 3 trials begin when it's clear that the vaccine doesn't cause immediate adverse effects and it appears to provoke an immune response. So that means, okay, this is working, and not only is it not providing adverse effects, but it is building a wall of defense against the virus. So the goal is to see if the vaccine actually protects the subjects against getting COVID-19, or if they do get it, if it causes the illness to be less severe. And those are much larger trials. So the director of the NIH in June, Dr. Francis Collins, said each vaccine needs to be tested on about 30,000 volunteers. We don't believe that we have enough power in the analysis to be able to document the vaccine works unless you get roughly that number. So, of course, it is so important to have plenty of volunteers available to test a vaccine, and that can be a little bit scary, of course, trying something new, but the medical professionals and the people working to develop this vaccine generally feels very positive and optimistic about the fact that already 107,000 people have signed up to be test subjects. And because of people being willing to do that, we will be able to move in the direction of a vaccine and conquering this issue much, much faster. So I hope you were feeling a bit encouraged about our country and our world as we continue to battle COVID-19 together. So stay positive and stay tuned. After the break, we will hear some heartwarming stories about some very special siblings. Be back in a jiffy.
The GSMC Life and Happiness podcast takes you on a journey of exploration. We'll discuss tried and true methods alongside the latest trends of how to best live your life to its fullest and happiest. From psychology to meditation, science to self-help books, the GSMC Life and Happiness podcast will help you to discover what makes you happy and how you can live life being the best you possible. Download the GSMC Life and Happiness podcast on iTunes, Stitcher, SoundCloud, Google Play, or anywhere you find podcasts. Just type GSMC in the search bar.
Hey, welcome back from the break. I hope you had a good one. You really should check out that Life and Happiness podcast that Alyssa Jo also hosts. She's got lots of great tips over there for just keeping positive, staying happy, and, who doesn't need more Alyssa Jo in their lives? So welcome back to the America's Still Beautiful podcast, brought to you by the GSMC Podcast Network. Today, I'm your host, Brooklyn Tanner, and next up, I have some really great local news for you. So one great story from Missouri, one from San Antonio, Texas. Let's dive right into them. This first one made me just melt. I thought this was so sweet. So these Missouri siblings obviously really, really love each other because big brother showed little brother some really sweet, caring love this weekend. So Todd Burkemper has worked really hard since graduating college in 2011. He has had good luck in his career as an app designer and a senior software developer in Missouri. And although his golden job opportunities propelled him forward, of course, he never stopped looking back, watching over his younger brother, Alex. He really worked hard. Todd worked really, really hard to struggle through his student loan debt, save up for a house, and pay off his car loans. He worked really hard through it all, and he had a home built in Missouri 2 years after graduation. And although his finances were really tight for a while, he was determined to succeed and also help his brother. And he really succeeded in all aspects because although they're six years apart in age, Todd and Alex have always been the best of friends. That is so sweet. I love when siblings are best friends. So when Alex graduated college in 2017, Todd invited his younger brother to live with him instead of move back in with their parents. And so although he allowed Alex to live rent-free for about 6 months, Todd decided it was time to help him learn a little bit of responsibility and charge him rent. But, however, unbeknownst to Alex, Todd just took Alex's full rent payments every month for the last 2 years and made a deposit into a separate special savings account. Not only did he take his rent money and put it in the savings account, but he also contributed a little bit of extra as well. So this spring, Alex decided to buy his own home. And when his offer was accepted, Todd decided it was time to reveal this very special gift that he had for his brother. So he brought up the savings account screen and he showed it to his brother and said, "Hey, look at all this money in the savings account." He was like, "Okay, cool, whatever." And then he told Alex, "The money is yours. This is all the money from the rent that you've paid me, and actually I've saved it, added a little bit, and it's all for you. I hope that this helps with the down payment, and I don't want you to have to struggle as much as I did." So his parents were there, his brother and he were there, and there was not a dry eye in the house. What a sweet story about this older brother just wanting to help his younger brother continue to push through life and succeed and share the success that he has had. So the mom took a little video of this moment and she shared it on Facebook. And after she got all these heartwarming responses from her friends on Facebook, she felt compelled to share this special story of brotherly love with a wider audience. So she submitted it to the news, and here we are. Oh, this mother is so sweet. She says, "The generosity shown by Todd is just one of the amazing facets of his character. We are so very humbled by the awesome human that he has grown into." Isn't that a sweet story? I just love that. And what a great big brother to not only show the example of hard work and facilitate his brother to be able to work hard as well, but then be so generous with his home and then his money to help out his brother with buying his own house, and so that he can continue to have success as well. And so I just love that, and I hope that while we're all probably spending a little bit more time than originally planned with our families, we can find ways to serve them as well. I have a younger sister, and although we don't live in the same house, we've really become better friends through these last few months, which I'm so grateful for, because we really get to see a little bit more of each other and love each other and help each other. We've both been able to help each other with some things, and she's especially helped me. So I love my sister, and I hope you love your siblings too. So whatever you can think of to do for one of your siblings today, of course it doesn't have to be paying for their house down payment, but a text of how much you appreciate them, or maybe a little apology for that thing that's still bugging you, or something that you can do that will serve and make your sibling happy. Let's try to do that today. And hey, there's still one more story about an amazing set of twins honored by the restaurant that they've worked in for 40 years. So, special needs set of twins, Sandy and Sherry Ruthinger, were mainstays at Luby's restaurant in San Antonio. San Antonio, Texas loves the restaurant Luby's, which is a cafeteria-style restaurant that customers absolutely love. And this year was the year that their beloved twin waitresses, Sandy and Sherry, have decided to retire. These two identical twins are super cute, and although they had to wait a long time to have their proper ceremony of celebration, they have had it. It was delayed, but now this week they got to have a small ceremony held at the restaurant to celebrate Sandy and Sherry, who worked at the Luby's for 40 years. So, what a special place to work at, especially with her sister. So these two sisters got to work together 40 years at this happy restaurant. And what did they say they're going to miss most? Of course, the customers. They love serving the customers over all these years, and lots of them are regulars at this favorite local restaurant in San Antonio. And so the company officials say they will also miss the Ruthinger twins. Sounds like they've been a staple there for a really long time, so how special that they were honored with a ceremony. And it's such a cute video of them saying how much they loved working there and how much they love the customers in their community and how they've always felt uplifted. And then customers also go on to say how they've been uplifted by the twins as well. So they got flowers and a special ceremony to see pictures and wonderful memories of their legacy, balloons here, and socially distant family in masks celebrating these two awesome twins. So what a special story. I absolutely love it. I'm so glad that we can hear these two stories. Now, I hope you enjoyed those two, because I have even more great things coming up after the break. We're going to have to get our pens and pencils out if you want, because the next segment is going to be featuring some amazing, great things to do at home while we are still at home. So let's be pandemic positive and learn about some things that we can do during this time. So stay tuned, and we'll be back right after this.
Tired of searching the vast jungle of podcasts? Now listen close and hear this out. There's a podcast network that covers just about everything that you've been searching. Hey! The Golden State Media Concepts Podcast Network is here. Nothing less than a podcast bliss with endless hours of podcast coverage. From news, sports, music, fashion, cooking, entertainment, fantasy, football, and so much more. So stop lurking around and go straight out to the Golden State Media Concepts Podcast Network. Guaranteed to fill that podcast itch. Whatever it may be. Visit us at www.gsmcpodcast.com. Follow us on Facebook and Twitter, and download us on iTunes, SoundCloud, and Google Play.
Welcome back to the GSMC America's Still Beautiful podcast, brought to you by the GSMC Podcast Network. I'm Brooklyn, your host, and let's get right into it. When England's theaters were closed due to the Black Plague, Shakespeare wrote Macbeth and King Lear. So, use your time for good. Those are two of the most iconic of Shakespeare's plays, especially in the tragedy and history department. Macbeth is amazing, and I think more of movies and books that you like quote it more often than you think. Or maybe you'll discover that tomorrow and tomorrow and tomorrow. Well, if you like writing like Shakespeare or you like doing anything else, there's still so much you can do while you're at home social distancing or working from home. So many of us still are working from home, or staying at home, or waiting for what's next. And so this article can give us 15 excellent suggestions to keep us pandemic positive. So if your area of the country is still in a quarantine or a lockdown, or you're just trying to stay home and stay safe, here's some suggestions to keep those minutes ticking by happily. So, number 1 is take a course that you always wanted to take. Did you know that there are hundreds of Ivy League courses from schools like Harvard, Princeton, and Yale? You can take them online for free. Art and design, business, social sciences, engineering, or just medicine, you are sure to find something to broaden your horizons and fire up those sleepy synapses. That's right, those are the parts of your brain that like to learn new things. So, take advantage of some extra time you have and learn something new. Have you always been interested in something? I know that I have like a million classes I would love to take, so I think this would be a really cool idea. Number 2, if you're feeling like something a little less study intensive, why don't you color some printable pages? Online is absolutely full of printable coloring pages. You can sneak on and get your favorite of the Disney characters. That's an easy one to do. Or, I mean, have you seen it? There's millions of coloring for adults pages now. There's a website called Just Color that has some fabulous free downloadable coloring pages on topics like travel, art, nature, and history. So, get some cheap color pencils on Amazon, maybe even order an entire coloring book, and just let that therapy work its magic. That really is a lot of fun. You should give it a try if you like color. And then you got something pretty to hang on your wall or your fridge or whatever. Or you could glue it onto your notebook or journal. Hey, that's an idea. Another thing you could do is enjoy a museum. What? I thought we were talking about things that you can do from home. Well, you can. Google Arts and Culture has partnered with more than 2,500 museums and galleries around the world in order to offer a virtual tour and online displays of those collections to internet surfers. And if you screen share with a friend over Zoom or Jitsi or something, it's likely that you will be able to tour the museum together. Hey, what a great online date idea. You can seriously explore lots of museums online using this service. So check that out. That would be really cool because, hey, maybe even without a pandemic, you can't make it to Paris like me. So why not enjoy some of the amazing sites there by using Google Earth or seeing the museums and galleries that they have online? I think that's a really good idea. I think I'll give that a try tonight. All right, number 4 is read a book. Our first grade teachers didn't teach us all those sounds tirelessly for nothing, people. There is a book for everyone. Maybe it's the one your aunt gave you last year for your birthday that you're finally going to pick up, or that one that's been on your to-be-read list on Goodreads for 5 years. Yeah, it's time to dust that thing off. It's time to read it. Did you know even your local library can lend you ebooks? You don't have to have a fancy Kindle or anything. Just log in with your library card or go onto your library and register for a library card, and you'll be able to download ebooks and even audiobooks from the collection that your library has. I do this all the time, and it is seriously so incredible. You can just download it. You got 2 weeks to listen or read, and it's perfect. Oh, so nice and totally free. So, read a book, fiction to take you to another land of pandemic-free paradise, or read something nonfiction, a biography of someone you admire, or maybe some kind of a self-help book. There's lots of great ones out there. Read something that will lift up your spirit and give you a good time. All right, on to number 5 is to organize small areas. Clean out and organize your junk drawer. We've all got that one in the kitchen, and it will feel like a huge accomplishment. And hey, you go by these small areas every single day, so just tidying up one or two can be an amazing feat. Maybe you want to get lost in it to kill the time, or just set a timer for 15 minutes and see how much you get done. Even if you don't finish, it's bound to look better than when you started. All right, are you ready for a little bit more? Yep, number 6 is to clean your screen. Go in and remove those smudges and grime from your screens on your computer, your phone, your keyboards. Make sure that you are disinfecting your phone as much as you can by giving it a wipe on the your case or something. Sometimes I even put my phone case in the dishwasher. I mean, it's just like regular plastic, so I just stick it in the dishwasher a couple times a week, and that really helps. And also by wiping it with a microfiber cloth, you can get off any smudges on it. And as far as like speakers go, you can carefully take a Q-tip to wipe out those areas. And hey, that's got to be feeling a lot cleaner. You can also use Q-tips to clean your keyboard because you're probably using it a lot more if you're working from home. So there's a great idea. Clean your screens, and hey, that'll make for a lot better Zoom calls. Number 7 is to talk on the phone. So now that you're in your house, we're going to have to resurrect that art of talking on the phone again. As I have a really good friend of mine who occasionally, sometimes our cell phones don't talk to each other very well. So if I don't respond to a text, maybe it's because I didn't get it. So she has been calling me to just like let me know, hey, like, do you want to go for a walk, or do you want to, here's the news that I wanted to share with you. And she's been calling me on the phone, and she's really cute. She says, I feel like it's like good. It's practicing my human skills to call you on the phone and actually speak with a human on the phone. I love that. So call up an old friend or just your mom and chat with them on the phone rather than over text or messenger. It can be really refreshing and a way to pass the time if you're looking for that. Number 8 is to do those once-a-year jobs. Oh, yeah, 2020, it's not too late for spring cleaning because you're still home. So flip over and rotate your mattress so you can sleep better. Purge your phone of those bad photos or the screenshots you took of notes or memes that you don't like anymore, or, delete the context of somewhere that you don't use anymore. And dust off your bookshelf, clean out your clothes. Make sure you change your filters if that's your job. Make sure you change the filters in your air conditioner. That will help the air be a lot clearer. Clean out your closet. You can turn over your wardrobe. Maybe give away some clothes you're not really using anymore and make room for new things to come in and be loved. Those once-a-year jobs, no one loves to jump on them, but it sure is nice when they're done. Hey, number 9, this could be used to get through number 8, is to make a pandemic playlist. Think of songs that make you happy and add them to your feel-good song list. Maybe on Spotify or Google Play or Apple Music or something, you can have, this is what I do. I have a playlist that just says positive music. And anytime I listen to a new song or I remember an old song that I love, I just quickly add it to that list. And if I'm feeling a little bit down or just need something positive to take a walk with, I'll shuffle that up, and it's only songs that I like. It's really, really nice. Number 10 is to give some focus to self-care. You have more time now to sit quietly and meditate, or have a huge dance party in your room, do some stretches in the morning, soak in the tub, scrub your feet, give yourself a facial, maybe go get some flowers and put them in the house. Maybe you throw yourself an amazing dinner with the good china. Whatever you want to do to make yourself feel good, that's a really good time to do it while we're at home because you have plenty of time. You can really take your time. Maybe you like doing your nails. That's relaxing for you, or playing through an old video game that is really, really easy for you now, but when you were 7 years old, you just dreamed you could play it all day. If only your mom would let you. But whatever you can do to focus on self-care, take a little bit of time for that, and I think you'll find that it helps you in other areas of your lives as well. Number 11, I think people have been doing a lot of this, is try a new recipe. Have all your friends stopped posting about the bread that they've made yet. Make something that you have, quote, never had time to cook or never thought you could cook. Just give it a try. You're not having a huge dinner party. Just try it and see if you like it. Something that I have tried to cook while we're in a little lockdown here is cakes. I've never really made like a layered cake before, and I thought it would be really, really fun. And so I gave it a try, and it wasn't the worst thing. I mean, it was cake. So that was really fun to do. I hadn't tried it before because I was like, oh, not enough time, blah, blah, blah. Don't want to like disappoint people if I have to give it to them, but it was just for me and my family, and it was good. So no pressure. It was a lot of fun. So that's number 11. The suggestion number 12 is to sew those buttons or small holes. Yeah, sometimes you get a little rip in your sweater, or your favorite t-shirt needs a patching up. This is a great time to get it done. Number 13 is to do some puzzles. Hey, don't you have one or two of those laying around? Or maybe you can borrow one from your grandmother. That is a lot of fun to do. You can also like watch your favorite show, and that kind of breaks it up. The monotony of watching a show, maybe you watch a show while you do a puzzle. Number 14 is to write a good old-fashioned letter. There's no limit to how many different kinds of heartfelt letters you can write. A quick note to a friend that will make their mailbox sparkle with sunshine, or a long letter to your mom thanking her for everything that she's done for you. Now, number 15 is to learn an instrument. Whoa, that would be really, really cool. So learning an instrument is a great way to keep your brain going and to feel accomplished so you can do something that you love. I have always wanted to play the piano, and I have this old, like, it's not even a piano, but it's a keyboard. It's like an electric keyboard. It's about 25 years old. I've moved it to every little apartment that I've been in, and in hopes that I would learn the piano. And I have practiced the piano more in the past 3 months than in the last 15 years of trying to learn the piano. This is a really good time to really sit down and learn those things. And there are lots of online virtual teachers that you could use, or just getting started. There are amazing tutorials for almost every instrument on YouTube. So hop on there and get started in an instrument that you love. Did you like those suggestions? Let us know on our Instagram or our Twitter which one you're going to try out this week. I think I'm definitely going to do some of these. I think that I will try something new with self-care. Maybe I'll paint my nails or organize one of the small areas of my home. I think that sounds really, really good to me. So I think I'll give that a shot. And I think another great thing that you can do is keep listening to this podcast, because we still have more fun things to tell you. So stay tuned, because next I have some great news in sandwiches. See you right after this.
Want to find out what movies to go see? Then check out the GSMC Movie Podcast. It's your ticket to the latest movies, whether it's a new blockbuster event, romantic, comedy, or action flick. This show has got it all covered. They talk some what to go see now. Don't bother. What's hot on Netflix and everything in between. That's GSMCpodcast.com/movie-podcast. When it's all about the movies, it has to be this new show. Don't forget to like them on Facebook and follow them on Twitter. Visit GSMCpodcast.com for more info.
Hey, welcome back. You're still listening to the GSMC, America's Still Beautiful podcast, brought to you by the GSMC Podcast Network. All right, this part of the podcast is my favorite. I'm going to share some really fun news, and of course, you know me, it's going to start with some food news. So, in lieu of the amazing pandemic that we're involved in, a chef has served up a 6-foot sandwich for friends to enjoy while maintaining a social distance. This savvy English chef has come up with a unique lunch special for people who may be reluctant about eating with other people. He has made a ginormously socially distant sandwich. It measures at 6.5 feet, which is 2 meters long, and it's a massive sandwich of bacon and sausage, and it's being sold for $20. Now, since it was dreamt into existence by Chef Ethan Rogers earlier in the year. The Back to Work Baguette sandwich has been created with this butcher, bakery, deli, restaurant in England. The sandwich is massive. You can't even picture it for how big it is. You just gotta go look up a picture of it. There's 2 people trying to eat on each end, the chef and his assistant chef. It's amazing. It's all your dreams come true. I just love it. I just love it. So the chef says that he wanted to make something really fun because he's had less foot traffic in his shop, of course, and so sandwiches are really easy for to-go meals, and so he wanted to make something that's a little bit more fun to eat if you're with somebody. So the sandwich is made for 2 people who want to share lunch while still following social distancing guidelines. And Chef Roger says, "We have been asked a lot since measures started to ease about sandwiches and takeaway to go, and we were able to do the takeaway coffees. But this is a fun example of what we're doing in this shop. The hospitality industry will be the last to reopen, and so we have had to diversify. We're doing a grocery delivery service for remote villages. My chef team are making ready-made meals and pastries that are available from the restaurant and deli every single day." So they're doing lots to help out their community here, adjusting, just like every single business has, adjusting their practices so they can keep their patrons safe and also get their food out to people who still want and need it, even if they're not coming into the shop. So he is excited to share this back to work baguette whenever people can go back into work. And so regardless of whether the restaurant's patrons will actually order the monster sandwich in the future, I'm just happy that this chef has made a 6.5-foot sandwich. Some days you just feel like you could eat a 6-foot sandwich, right? You work hard, or you're really happy and you just want to celebrate with a 6.5-foot sandwich. I love it. It's massive. You should go look it up just to look at that sandwich. It's really amazing. All right, last up here, I have some really fun facts about your favorite game show, Jeopardy! Alex Trebek has been in the news a lot lately as he works through his stage 4 pancreatic cancer, but today comes with some really good news. Recently, Alex released a video of him letting everybody know that he is feeling well and he is taking on treatments, and so he is optimistic about the future. He's always been very open and honest and optimistic about his journey through cancer, and so although that's no joke, not something that is fun to work through, he's a great example of just maintaining the courage and the strength necessary to keep on doing what he loves. So he continues to host Jeopardy, and his contract goes to 2022. And so recently there was an article on Showbiz Cheat Sheet that let us know some really fun facts about how Alex Trebek got started in Jeopardy. So apparently Lucille Ball of my favorite 50s show and yours, I Love Lucy, she played a major role in having Alex Trebek hired as the host of the quiz show. So Lucille Ball had actually been friends of the producer who was getting Jeopardy going, and she suggested to him that he consider hiring this up-and-coming game show host who had been doing a lot of kind of small-time game shows that she had seen him in. He actually started hosting game shows like Battle Stars, Double Dare, Lucky Numbers, and the $128,000 question. And he was really making a name for himself. And Lucille Ball suggested to the show's executive producer, creator Merv Griffin, that he hire the up-and-coming game show personality. And hey, it worked. Alex Trebek has a memoir coming out soon called The Answer Is. I love that. And Trebek got the job, and he made his name there, all with the help of the I Love Lucy star, Lucille Ball. So I love that. And this article also gives us some more fun facts about Alex Trebek. So I think we can't really imagine the show without Alex. He is Canadian born, and he began his run on the iconic game show many years ago. Do you know what year it was? Okay, submit your virtual guesses now. Send them to me. All right. Yes, you're very, very close. It was 1984. And that's when the legend started. So, Alex Trebek did his first episode September 10th, 1984. And on Monday, July 20th, was Alex Trebek's 80th birthday, and they aired that first episode again. How special is that? So I think that will also be available maybe later on Netflix or somewhere on the internet. So check that out, his very first episode. It would be really fun to see. So announcer Johnny Gilbert was on the job that first day, and like Trebek, still is sounding remarkable, and he is maintaining that job as well. So those two have been at it on that game show for over 36 years. That is pretty incredible. Now, if you haven't seen Jeopardy before, 3 players come out, stand behind buzzers, and they question the answer, basically. So Alex Trebek reads the answer to a question, and the contestants have to answer with the proper question. So usually it starts with asking the color of the sky, and then the contestant has to say, what is blue? And there's money, of course, involved, and double Jeopardy, where they get to double up things, and it's been such a fun and iconic game show. Now, Trebek bounded out to his first appearance on the program, sporting much darker hair than right now, a full mustache, and saying, "Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen, on behalf of all of us. Welcome to America's favorite answer and question game, Jeopardy!" So he actually confesses that he didn't think that Jeopardy would run very long, but I've heard this from almost everybody who is starting the run of a show, whether it be a sitcom, a game show, a drama. They're just really nervous at the beginning. They don't know if the show will pick up on the network or if the audience will respond well, and even if you really believe in what you're doing, you just have to wait for those results. Just like I'm hoping that you like this show that you're listening to right now. So Alex says, at the beginning, we weren't certain how long we were going to last because we were getting feedback saying, oh, it's too tough. It's so hard to keep on air. It's too tough. But the television personality offered to make the questions easier, but they actually changed his mind. So they kept how it's going, and now it's one of the most favorited and beloved shows on the air, as well as Alex Trebek being one of America's favorite game show hosts. So now you know a little bit more about Alex Trebek the next time you watch Jeopardy, another great quarantine pastime. So I really hope you enjoyed those stories today. Of course, the whole point of this podcast is to help you feel good about the world that you're living in. So take a look around your community today. Try to recognize some heroes that are doing some good things. Google your town in the news section and look for really positive stories, because as you search, I promise, just like we do every single week, there are plenty of stories around to inspire you, to uplift you, and to give you hope. So another important part of it is to go out and create that news yourself. So, of course, I just mean doing it where you can, serving somebody. It doesn't have to be a big thing. Donating to your local food bank, giving a message to somebody you love, helping out your neighbor, delivering groceries to somebody who probably can't or would be better off not getting into a store. Do what you can to help out others today and be one of the heroes. So thank you so much for listening to the GSMC America Still Beautiful podcast. It's brought to you by the GSMC Podcast Network. Please subscribe to the show and please share it with a friend. We would love to continue sharing the good news with everybody else. So please follow us on social media. That's a really easy way to share it with your friends as well. You can find GSMC America Still Beautiful, this podcast, on Instagram at GSMC_America and on Twitter at GSMC_ASB. You can jump into the conversation with me and Alyssa over there, share stories with us that you find in your community that are great, and you can also tell us your favorite part of the show today. Thank you so much for listening. Have an amazing week. Make it that way, and we'll see you next time.
You've been listening to the Golden State Media Concepts America Still Beautiful podcast, part of the GSMC Podcast Network. You can find this show and others like it at www.gsmcpodcast.com. Download our podcasts on iTunes, Stitcher, SoundCloud, Google Play, or anywhere you find podcasts. Just type in GSMC to find all of our shows from the GSMC Podcast Network, from social media news to marketing news, and even weird news. The GSMC Podcast Network has you covered. You can also follow us on Twitter and Facebook. Thank you, and we hope you have enjoyed today's episode of the Golden State Media Concepts, America's Still Beautiful podcast.